Hey everybody, welcome back. Corey with the Good Art Travel Company, and today I want to talk about how do we disconnect from work to where we can enjoy traveling and enjoy our vacation. So there's a couple ways we can do that, but first I just want to give you a couple real world examples. So a friend of mine, she is a successful realtor, and as a realtor you're pretty much on call 24/7, but she wanted to get away for 3 or 4 days, so she went off. She had a great time, had a great vacation, and she only checked her email a couple times, which is really, really good for her. But she had an absolute blast. So she came back to talk to me about it, and she said that a client of hers had called to fire her over the phone because she was not on call for her client. And I told her, I was like, that's great. I was like, I'm glad she called you to fire you, because you do not need somebody like that in your life. Good riddance. You don't need somebody who's going to expect you to be on call 24/7, especially when you're going to take, a personal vacation. So on to my second example. Born and raised on a farm, we worked a lot. So we would go and haul hay in the mornings, and then all of us would come back and we'd take a lunch break around noon. And I remember, coming in, fixing a sandwich, making a drink, getting some chips and just kind of kicking up and relaxing. But every time that my dad would step foot in the house, my initial reaction would be to stand up and start walking around. So, and it wasn't that my dad didn't care that I was, relaxing and taking a break. He wanted us to do that, but in my head, I never wanted my dad to see me being lazy. I didn't want him thinking that I was being unproductive. So anytime that he would step foot in the house, I would get up and immediately walk around. And I did not want to not please my dad. And I kind of took that mentality, that way of thinking, into the workforce as I got older. So, when I got into my next job, I was constantly trying to, please my boss. I was constantly trying to please clients. You're constantly trying to please, my friends. And, that was kind of my way of thinking. The biggest issue with us doing that is we lose control of our own time. We no longer dictate our free time. That's dictated by, everybody else. So, if my friend allowed her client to dictate her free time, then she would never have a chance to, get away or do anything. So that's something that we really have to watch. And that's those two stories, that's leading into, my first big point is we're not physically able to please everybody. It's way too stressful for us to be able to do that. So we really kind of need to start changing our mentality and come to the realization that we cannot please everybody in our lives, and that's okay. Practice the process of realizing, that we cannot make everybody happy. It takes a long time to do, but day in, day out, you have to remind yourself of that, and slowly, that weight, that burden's going to be lifted off of you. And I promise you that's going to improve, your life in general, and it's going to improve everybody else that is in your life. It's going to improve that as well. Let's talk about our second point. How do we disconnect from work? Well, we need to kind of start to unlearn the American working mentality. Now, what I mean by this is we were basically kind of taught one process in life. You go to high school, and if you want a good job, you've got to go to college right out of high school in order to get that good job. So you get your degree, you get your college degree, and then you can kind of start your life. You get a good paying job, you get married, have a house, you have kids, and then what do? You work for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And why do you work? Because you want to build up a nest egg in hopes that one day you can, retire and be able to travel the world and enjoy your life after that. But the biggest issue I always have with that is, as Americans, we work more hours than anybody else pretty much in the world. When we're working 20, 30 years doing the same job day in, day out, that's going to have a toll on us. That's going to have a toll on our physical health. If we have a job that's extremely stressful, that's going to have a toll on our mental health. So, the issue with all of this is we have a very hard time separating the two. We've got work over here and we've got our health and well-being here. And over time, these two slowly start to mesh together. And that's when we start having some serious issues. So what we really have to concentrate on is keeping these two separate. You've got your work life over here, and you've got the most important thing ever is your health and well-being, period. the health and well-being of yourself and of your family and your friends. So you've got to keep these two separated. Let's go ahead and wrap everything up. So those are your 2 points. How do we disconnect from work? Point number one, tip number one is we have to come to the realization that we cannot please everybody. We cannot make everybody happy, and that is perfectly okay. That's something that I myself have a lot of work to do on. And tip number two, we have to remember that our health and well-being is of utmost importance, and we need to keep that completely separated from work. Those two do not need to mesh together. So the sooner we can apply those 2 tips to our life, the better off we'll be. And to leave you on that, we need to remember to take all of our PTO. So there's a study done, I think last year, the year before, to where only like 54% of Americans actually took all of their PTO. Well, if your employer is giving you paid time off, please be sure that you're taking all of it. The rest of the world isn't working the hours that you're working. So, you got the America and Mexico, and there's like a handful of other countries that are working about the same hours. The other 6 billion people in this world are working a heck of a lot less than you. They're out there, they're traveling, and they're spending time with their families. So perhaps, you should too. So hopefully, you got something out of this video, you enjoyed this video. Feel free to put comments down below. Let me know what you think, and we will talk to you on the next video. Appreciate it. Bye.